So the question is, how did that do? I was full sprint on that, and now I'm doing it again. So, well, not full sprint, but I'm moving. I mean, I'm definitely moving. Welcome to the Better Buy, where I give you the information you need on the stuff that you want so you can make the better buy. In this video, I'm going to be covering the DJI Pocket 3. I'm going to give you everything you need to know to make a buying decision on this camera. I've compared it to the iPhone 11 Pro, the Insta360 X3, and the Insta360 Go 3 footage later. Now, here's what's special about this review. I know you saw the length of this video. I'm going to answer pretty much give you all of my conclusions within the next few minutes, but after that, I've included all of my test footage broken down so you can see how I came to my conclusions. And if you disagree with when you're watching the video, you disagree with my conclusions, that's fine. My goal is to try and help you make a buying decision. So I'm trying to give you the information you need to do that. And while most YouTube videos that I make and other people make, we try and keep them really short and punchy and all that kind of stuff, I want to try and help you make a buying decision. So if this video helps you make a buying decision, the link is in the description. I'd love for you to use that if you do decide to buy. But again, my goal isn't necessarily to get you to buy it. It's just to help you make a buying decision on it. So like the video, please comment down below. I freaking love the people that are commenting because I love getting in the conversation. And like some people bring up stuff that I'm not even thinking about, and it's really wonderful just to see all that. So if you've already been in the comments and like the first video that I made, thank you. I genuinely appreciate it, and I really enjoy reading and talking with you guys in there. So let's do a couple things really quickly. The first footage that's going to come once this little section finishes is the iPhone and the Pocket 3 comparison. I took it basically in darkness. It was like before sunrise, and I compared the front-facing camera with the Pocket 3 and the back-facing camera with the Pocket 3 in vertical and horizontal mode, so you can see those differences. My conclusion is that in low light, this thing absolutely destroys it. I think you can all agree with that from what you've seen online and everything. The 1-inch sensor is huge. The stabilization is great. And then if you're in like a spotlight, kind of like I was under a street lamp, then this one does okay, like under the light, but as soon as you start to step back, it becomes a problem. But in daylight, it's very interesting because in daylight, this front-facing camera compared with the Pocket 3, it's pretty close. Like I would say that it's so close, and you'll see my comparison, that someone just swiping through social media is not going to notice the difference. So if you don't have the money to get one of these and film yourself like that, your iPhone, and this is the 11 Pro, if you have a higher end iPhone, then you're probably going to be fine quality wise as long as you're not filming in lower light. And this goes to the person that's, just trying to, film videos at home or whatever, capture stuff. I think you're good. But I don't think this camera was made for that person. This camera, I believe, this is my personal opinion, you can comment if you agree, was made for the person it's the future videographer, the one that's thinking about turning this into a career. This is an incredibly well done price point for a gimbal camera, high quality gimbal camera. Like, I film on the DJI RS2 Pro combo with an EOS R full frame 24-105 f4 lens, and I filmed a lot of stuff on that. I film like local 5K races and stuff like that, and cross country running, and I run with that camera, like a lot of running, and it's heavy, that whole setup. I started filming those things with this sucker, and it was incredible. Like, number one, when you freaking turn the thing off, okay? Just let me get excited for a second, because when you turn this thing off, it goes off in like 2 seconds. It's gone, and then you can run you can run all over the place with it. And when you need to film again, it's a quick little turn on, and this thing is up and running in no time. Like, it's stupid fast, okay? So the speed that this thing goes on and off is incredible. When I film with the RS2 or whatever, I typically just leave the thing on. I might turn the camera off, but I leave the thing on while I'm running around, and I'm having to run in like this stabilized place until I get to where I'm going to film. So it depends on what kind of filmmaking you're doing, obviously. You need to know what you're trying to film with this, which will get me to the X3 in a second. But my main thing is, I believe this camera is a perfect starter camera for someone who is trying to get into videography, cinematic style shooting. I don't think there's anything on the market that's going to come close to this. So I highly recommend it for those reasons. Now, if you're someone that's just looking at cameras in general to start making videos and stuff, if you're going to be doing action sports, I have used this for like 2 or 3 months now. I love the X3. I love the 360 footage. I love being able to edit it and play with it and all that kind of stuff. One of the issues with it though, it is terrible in lower light, and it is good, not great, in bright light. I did a ton of comparison between these two at different qualities like 4K, 3K, 2.7K, the different frame rates, low light, shade, and what I found was as soon as I hit the shade, this thing turned me into a degenerate old man, and this thing stayed high quality. And so you need to know your use case, figure out what you're trying to do. I know that while I'm running and filming my running stuff, I'm going to keep using this. My other channel is the Pun Runner. I'll put it in the description, but it's the Pun Runner. And it's where I test all these cameras. Like I film myself running and do running documentaries and vlogs and stuff. So that's what I got these for, is that kind of stuff. And so I'm still going to use this a lot, but I don't think I'm ever going to really run with this one. Mainly because it's just not something I want to carry around and run with. I learned that when I was filming originally with the DJI Osmo Mobile 3 and the phone. I did that for a couple months and it was not great. I didn't love that. So you need to know what you're trying to do with the camera. But if it's action sports, if it's going to require a lot of movement, if there's going to be dust, then you need an action camera, period. Go get the Action 4 or the X3, figure out what kind of quality and style you want to film. I love the 360 because I love the field of view. I feel like it's unique, it's dynamic, it's novel for a lot of people, so that's exciting for me. I love the ability to edit in post. That's a huge thing for me, that I can reframe and all that kind of stuff. So that is why I love the X3. However, if you're someone that's trying to get footage into another workflow with higher quality cameras, then there's no question this is the one you need of those, the Go 3, whatever the Action 4. This is still the one you need. I think this will fulfill most of those things. Some of my issues with this camera, I'm going to run through like a couple of my main issues and then I'll be done, and the rest of the footage will be for you to just peruse and get to know the camera and audio and all that kind of stuff. Some of my main issues are that when you put the wide angle, actually let's just start with the basics here. This part right here is not very strong in its lock-in, okay? These two are, like this thing, you have to really move it to get it out. And the same thing with this one. But the part where the lens locks in is magnetic. It's just not a very strong magnetic. So I did have that happen a few times, and that's a little sketchy to me because now the lens is just flopping around and that could go wrong. So I would love to see that a little bit stronger. Another issue that I have with this camera is that when you put the field of view on, it can't close. The wider field of view. I think DJI could have given us, or I'd like to see them in a future, in a model or whatever, give us enough space that you can leave that field of view on, because I would like to use that wider field of view regularly, but what I found was I kept just not using it because I wanted to be able to turn the camera off quickly and move, and you have to take that off every time or just leave it flopping. So that's an issue for me. I do love the magnet thing. One thing that I discovered, which was kind of nice, is that the black mist filter, which I don't have and would never use, is a perfect place to put the magnet for the mic. So if you're someone that's, trying to figure that out, this is a great place. You can carry everything in one spot, and I love that. I also discovered that you can very easily, it takes maybe a little bit of work, but you can easily keep all of this in here together, even while it's in the case. So that's a really nice bonus. Like you can just keep all that together, and that's what I've been doing. The mic can obviously sit here. I basically never have it like that, but you can do that. So just something to consider. The mic quality is exceptional. I absolutely love this mic. I don't have anything negative to say about it. So they've done a really good job with this. I love the automatic pairing. One thing I don't love is every time you turn the camera on and connects, it leaves the display like you have connected to the mic on the screen for a pretty long time, which is kind of annoying. But it's not terrible. It just kind of gets in the way. So I'd like to see that just not happen every time or go away faster. The wind muff is great. One thing that I loved about this is you can connect it to the Rode mic thing. They have a little Rode, I'll put a picture on the screen. But what I did is I connected this to the Rode, and then I interviewed people, or I had other people interview people, and it worked really well. So I like that. But I'm actually kind of going back and forth between positives and negatives now. One thing that I really don't like is the fact that you can't just go straight into this without having the adapter. they could, I would just love to see them put this USB insert somewhere else so you could have the 1/4 inch thread down here, because this, I don't love that you have to have that little thing. I would love to be able to just bink right here, and that would actually be a great length for carrying and using the camera. So just something to consider in the future, but nothing I think that would affect a buying decision necessarily. One thing that I don't love is the price point of these batteries. This is like $60, whereas like the Insta360 batteries are $34. So basically half the price, and you're getting more battery. This does not give you a ton of battery charge from my experience with it. It gets it back to like 60% or whatever. And I mean, it's good enough like for most use cases, and you could grab a couple of these and you'd be fine. But I would love to see either a cheaper battery or a longer lasting version of this battery. I just feel like there could be more with that. So just something there. I don't love that price point. One thing that I still don't like about this camera, and I had some conversations with people in the comments, was the SD card slot. Number one, it's a little hard to get stuff in and out, not a major deal, but the fact that they don't include an SD card with the creator combo, I think, is a little bit silly. You could easily put some inbuilt storage. I'd love to see like 32 gigabytes of storage in here, so maybe in the future, but I'd also love to see them include an SD card there. I actually tried to find this mic 2 online to buy another one, just to see if you could buy another one, and you can't even get the creator combo anymore. It's all sold out. So that's something to consider. But overall, I think that this gives you kind of the general overview of my conclusion. I think this camera is perfect for the starter videographer who's trying to get into, you know, cinema style filming, more dynamic footage, whatever. It does work for vlogs. The tracking is great. All of that's nice. You're going to see how, in my opinion, I think it's a little more, well, it is. It's a little more wobbly than like the action cameras. Their stabilization is better just because of how they do it. This one, because the gimbal does move a little bit, if you've had experience with gimbals, you know you have to kind of maneuver the gimbal to make it look good. It's not as straightforward as an action camera, but you get a lot of benefits from the gimbal as a result of that. Okay, so that would be kind of my quick walkthrough overview, under 10 minutes, or right around 10 minutes, if you will. And if you want to know more, the rest of the test footage is there for you. You're going to hear me talk and walk through and think through this camera as I came to my own conclusions. So I hope that this helped you. If it did, would you please like the video, jump in the comments. I love the conversation, and subscribe to the channel, because I want to keep doing stuff like this. And if it's helping you, then you can help me by subscribing and sharing the video with friends and people that you know are interested in video. So, all right, that's what I got. I hope that you enjoyed this, and I'll see you in the next one. All right, so I have the Pocket 3 and the iPhone 11 Pro side by side in this hallway that is basically dark, except for those little lights. And you can see they're in vertical aspect ratio, but like 3K, 24 frames per second. The iPhone is doing whatever the iPhone does, auto kind of stuff. And that is just absolutely incredible what you're getting for low light out of the Pocket 3. Now I'm looking at the small screen. I imagine it's still gonna be pretty grainy. We're gonna walk over here. So we're leaving that light behind us, but I am coming to another street light. And the Pocket 3, I mean, at least from what I'm seeing on the screen of the Pocket 3, it is crushing the iPhone by just, I mean, it's just crushing it. So that's the front-facing camera of the iPhone 11 Pro. And obviously that's not a great camera, but that's kind of the point, is that if you were gonna film one or the other or use whatever, this is kind of what you're gonna be working with. So you can see I'm under a light now. Doing pretty good here. All right, we're gonna flip the iPhone around and use the other camera just to show the difference. So this is the iPhone 11 Pro, the main camera. It's the highest quality camera on the iPhone 11 Pro, just to give you a visual difference. And obviously I've got the Pocket 3. The Pocket 3 is at 3K, 24 frames per second, because I'm filming in the vertical aspect ratio for this, but the iPhone is doing whatever it does, 4K something. I can check it later, but it's just the auto functions for the iPhone. So that's kind of what you're getting as far as like video quality. If I come back here into the further away from the light, or maybe if we turn so the light's at our backs and we'll walk this way, you can kind of see just the low light difference between the two cameras. And the iPhone's, you know, it's always been decent at low light. Oh, well, I say decent, but it's certainly better cameras out there. So it's one of the improvements they've made with the iPhone, is the low light capabilities. So we'll walk back over here into the light. I'm gonna go vertical or horizontal in just a second, and then we'll be done. I'll tell you one thing that's really tough is holding the iPhone and filming with it as opposed to the gimbal. The gimbal is, or the Pocket 3 is just incredible for that purpose. And you can see we're just kind of walking around here, trying to keep the iPhone in the same place. It's hard to focus on both cameras, but that's what you're getting in low light. I mean, I'm backlit heavily. the sun isn't even up yet. It's basically just dark outside with a little bit of moonlight and stars. But as I back away from this light, you can kind of see how it's handling all of this. I mean, 4K 24 frames per second. I don't think anybody would want to be filming at 4K 60 in low light. That just seems silly to me, but maybe there's some people out there that are trying that. So I would say lower the shutter speed down as much as possible when you're filming the frame rates so that you can get as much light in when you're doing this low light stuff. And I mean, who needs slow motion 4K 60 in low light anyway, right? All right, we'll turn around. That is absolutely insane. If this thing is doing as good as it looks like it's doing on the small screen, I'm going to be super impressed. And the iPhone's obviously doing its thing, but I'm going to try 4K 60 just for the fun of it. Okay, so I am now filming at 4K 60 in the lowest light. I mean, I'm right next to a street light, so you can see kind of how that harsh light's playing out. But if you were walking around in the darkness, this is kind of what you're going to be getting. So I'm going to walk from one light to the other. You can see I'm really losing light in the back, obviously. But I'm filming at 4K 60, and it's basically dark outside with the exception of these street lights and a little bit of like sun glow that's starting to pop up in the horizon, but sunrise isn't for another little while. So, in fact, sunrise is in 40 minutes. We're 40 minutes from sunrise, and this is the kind of quality we're getting. Now, I'm obviously moving towards another street light. You can see me picking up here, but I'm also not using the wireless mic or anything like that. This is just straight gimbal, straight audio, straight everything, 4K 60, and gosh, the camera's kind of crushing it, seems like. All right, we're gonna go vertical one last time, and then we'll be done. All right, so we are at 3K, 24 frames per second, just trying to make this as natural as possible. If you were out here filming your own little vlog, trying to do some point and shoot stuff, whatever, storytelling, this is kind of what you'd be getting. It's really easy to hold in the hand when you are in this vertical mode. It's really easy to just kind of talk to the camera and have all that interaction. It seems like it's doing a pretty good job of keeping up with me. I could hit the tracking. Let's see how the tracking does in low light. Okay, so the tracking is now holding me centered. I think it'll make the camera a little more bouncy, but yeah, I mean, it's fine. It definitely makes the camera move a little more, but overall, still happy with the quality of the video. Let's go ahead and turn tracking off really quickly. It is kind of tough to work around the buttons in this with just the super small thing. I found myself going to my other hand just for comfort. So I do think, yeah, it's an interesting thing. We'll talk about that in the main video, but all right. I think that's enough for us for now. That kind of lets us know what we got going on. All right, so I wanted to do a test with the front-facing camera of the iPhone. They're both filming at 4K 60. Well, actually, the DJI Pocket 3 is filming at 3K 60, but the cameras are right next to each other, about the same distance from me, and you can kind of get an idea of how everything's going to go. I'm walking straight into sunlight, and we're going to spin around right now so you can see how that kind of works. And now we are extremely backlit, just trying to get an idea for how the cameras handle that spin. Overall, the Pocket 3 and the iPhone, I think, in good lighting, are pretty close to the same quality, distance, all that kind of stuff, which I find very interesting because the iPhone's front-facing camera is significantly lower in what I would consider quality than the Pocket 3. And then we'll turn around and you can kind of see how that goes. You know, because the Pocket is on a gimbal, it obviously makes for an interesting spin, kind of loses you for a second, whereas the iPhone stays steady exactly where it is. So that's just something to be aware of when you're working with it. If I put tracking on the Pocket 3, now if I do this, we should be pretty good to stay. It definitely does a lot better once the tracking is on. And then if I wrap back around here, you're gonna see it definitely does significantly better keeping my head in the center of the frame. So just thought I'd show you those two differences and give you some better lighting experience. I'm gonna walk into the shadow really quickly here and just give you that. And now let's flip the cameras to 16:9 and see how we do. But you can see, like, in this lighting, this is shaded underneath the this awning. Both cameras, I would say, look pretty dang good. Obviously, the iPhone's in 4K 60, and the Pocket 3 is in 3K 60. All All right, so both cameras are now filming in 4K 60, and I'm using the front-facing camera of the iPhone 11 Pro. Now, as I walk into bright sunlight, obviously, that's going to be much better for the iPhone, even with that small camera sensor and everything. It's going to help it out a little bit. And then as we turn, you're going to see kind of what happens. The Pocket can keep you in frame a little better in this setting because it's wider, but overall, having a frozen camera I think does a better job. Now, I could set the gimbal speed to move faster, track faster, all that kind of stuff. Definitely something to be aware of. But overall, this is kind of what you get with that. So if I spin around back, we're doing pretty good there. So my arms are at full arm length, basically. I mean, that's kind of what you're getting. So the field of view is, it is what it is. Obviously, I could turn the iPhone around and film from the other side, but my problem with that is you can't see yourself, and it's really nice to be able to see that you're in frame, which is what the Pocket 3 lets you do with its screen once you're filming in selfie mode. So, all right, I think that covers those two things pretty well. Kind of see the harsh lighting there. Yeah, if I was walking like this, and then that's like from the side. All right, I hope this helps anybody that's trying to make these kinds of decisions. All right, it is currently 6:10 and sunrise is at 6:40, so this is pretty good low light test. You can see the glow of the sunlight behind me, and what we're doing right now is just a full nice little jog run. Technically for me this is around probably like a 6:30 6:45 minute pace, so you can see how the camera's handling the running, the motion, all that kind of stuff. We'll see how it turns out. Obviously it's having trouble seeing me because I'm backlit and it's dark, but we're gonna do just a quick quarter-mile run here, just kind of give you an idea of actually it's gonna be a half mile, but so there's the cameras. I'm passing lights, coming up to a car right now, so kind of slip in and out of it. And again, this is just because I want to have the documentation, show you guys what you're getting if you get this camera. Overall, I think it's exceptional. This is one of the later videos that I've made with footage testing and all that kind of stuff. I've got basically my full video planned, if you will. I just didn't have anything for this. So I will say it's not as comfortable to like hold it out as some of the other ones because I have to hold it farther out if I was trying to run with this regularly, but it's also not terrible. I think my arms are just tired because I already ran 9 miles this morning and coming down to the end of it. So all right, I'm gonna come up this way. The sunrise is in front of me. Oh, it's gorgeous. Oh my goodness. Let me just show you this. Wow. Wow. So, I mean, that was pretty good. Pretty nice shot there. Overall, run back this way now. And I think at the end of the day, this thing is pretty dang good in low light compared to the other cameras on the market for this size and everything else. I do struggle with the direction of the gimbal sometimes, because when you spin it to selfie mode, it reverses it. In my head, I think it's gonna do one thing, but it does the other. So I think that's just one of those tactile things you get used to, though. Not a big deal. So I am curious to see how this thing handles the whole running and filming and stabilization, all that. One thing that is a problem for me with this is it's not reusable footage. Like, I can't make shorts out of this as easily because of the vertical aspect ratio. So that's a slight problem, but maybe something I could overcome just because of the other value. I don't know, we'll see. Now the gimbal is, I'm trying to get it to turn with me. Oh, see, it's the other way when you do that. Such an interesting little thing to sort out. Ooh, what that was wood. All right, so which way? Yeah, there you go. It's just reversed. You press to the right on the gimbal and it goes left, and you press to the left and it goes right, and that throws me off. That's because if you spin it, then it would be directionally appropriate. It's kind of weird that way. Anyway, it's definitely something you can get used to, but my goal was just to give everybody as much footage as you needed to make a buying decision. I know that a lot of times on YouTube we do all these like super short, fast, fun edits and try and make it dynamic and entertaining, but at the end of the day, people want to be able to see like, what are you just getting with the camera? You know, what are you gonna do if it's just like this long form video? What's the stuff that you're working with? And I think this does a much better job of showing that. So I'm gonna do a quick push in, turn around here, just because I think it's gorgeous. And we'll let you guys see how that handles it in low light. Wow. So, and you could obviously change the gimbal speed when the joystick, like calibration stuff, when you're moving the joystick, it won't move as fast or slow. That's all things that'll make it look better or worse, depending on how you're trying to use the camera. So just something to be aware of. But overall, this is low light. I mean, with the exception of being pitch black, it's pretty dark out here. And this camera's doing an exceptional job. So there you go. Hopefully that's the information you need to make a better buy. And we'll finish this review. So right now we are beginning the journey of testing the Insta360 X3 right here versus the DJI Pocket 3 over there. X3, Pocket 3. And I'm just walking right now. It is super harsh bright light. I'm curious to see how both cameras handle that. The Insta360 is at 5.3 or 5.7K filming right now, 30 frames per second, and the Pocket 3 is at 4K 60. So they're both in, well, the Insta360 is in the 360 mode, and the Pocket 3 is just in the horizontal mode for now. But we can flip it in a second. Main thing that I wanted to start off with here is just the audio. How does the audio sound? I've got the audio mic set at like 20 on my head, so I'm going to boost that up a little bit because it looks like it's coming in a little low, and I've seen that be an issue before, so we're going to go ahead and boost that in a second. But, whew, man, it is bright outside. That is for sure. So both cameras are now filming in 4K at 60 frames per second. The main thing here is that they're both in their auto mode. I'm not doing any extra color grading or editing or anything like that. This is just like, what does the camera suggest, and put it in that. Maybe there's a vivid color profile going on with the X3, but at the end of the day, both the cameras have some other color options for professional filmmakers if you want to go higher up on the editing and things like that. The Pocket 3 certainly has the better option of the two as far as like the D-Log and all that kind of stuff. I'm not going to go into all those details, but they're there for you if you want them. So if you're looking for like professional quality filming, then the Pocket 3 is for sure. But if you're just somebody out here making videos and you're trying to make vlogs or whatever, I think that kind of levels the playing field a little bit more between these two cameras. So we'll see how this goes. I'm kind of curious. Let's switch over to, I want to get both these cameras in the vertical 9:16 aspect ratio and just kind of see what we got going on here. So right now, something really interesting is going on. I'm having to film in the Insta360, the X3, in 3.6K at 30 frames per second, and the Pocket 3 is in 3K at 30 frames per second because I couldn't get crossover, which I think is interesting. So like I was going to just do 4K with the X3, but you can't do 4K vertical and at 60 frames per second with the X3. You have to go horizontal. So I didn't know that. Also, you can only get up to 4K 30 in the horizontal mode. So that's interesting. And then with the Pocket 3, you can go to 3K 60, but that's 3K, not 2.7K or whatever. So I'm not really sure what's going on there, but I figured I'd go ahead and film this just for a comparison of the quality, at least get us close to it. 3.6K versus 3K, 30 frames per second, 30 frames per second. Sunlight, not sunlight, rotating around, huge backlit. I mean, the field of view on the X3 is just huge compared to the Pocket 3. Obviously, you can have that clip-on field of view, but I really don't like the magnet thing. So while I could show you what it looks like, and I left it at home, I'm not, just because like I wouldn't want to carry that thing around all the time. Like if I had to pick a camera for a purpose, I don't like the idea of having to have that all the time. There's enough other things I got to carry with it. So I guess I would technically have it with it, but I found myself not using it very often just because it was annoying to put on and off, and like when you turn the camera off with it on, it like can't close. So that's interesting. So just for full disclosure, I've got both of these cameras at 4K 30 now, so we're very aware of what's going on. I also have facial tracking going on with the action camera. And I think that when you have tracking going on, the camera stabilization seems worse because it's constantly moving to try and keep you in frame. Whereas the X3 is just not doing that. Got people all around me, good stuff. The X3 is kind of just staying in one spot. You know, I could twist it back and forth and you've got that little angle there, but overall, nothing special. But if I turn this guy around, you can kind of see that one's following me. Oop. I just realized my gimbal was off, so there's that. Overall though, I mean, I think the X3 is going to outdo the Pocket 3 for stabilization. I'm going to turn the stabilization off now and just, you can kind of see how that plays out. What that means is that you really have to kind of pay attention to what you're doing with the Pocket 3 on the gimbal side. So like if I'm using the joystick to move it around, that makes a difference. We'll go back into shade here for a second, you can kind of see. So yeah, so I mean if you kind of like really think about your movements with the gimbal, that can work. I don't know if there's a way to stabilize the gimbal, so the Action 3 of course doesn't have that issue. Like the gimbal can lose me if I move too quickly, but the Action 3 is keeping me centered. So, or the X3, what do I call it? I call it Action 3. All right, let's do the next thing here. All right, this is 4K 24. You can see the field of view. The cameras are exactly the same distance from me, and that's what we're getting. So I'm gonna try and keep them that way. I'm chucking that one around a little bit, but you can see we're about to hit some sunlight. Woo! Super bright. And once again, the interesting thing is like the X3 is going to be more of a fixed image, whereas you're getting this floating effect with the Pocket 3. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but I can kind of like see it happening. So, and I would want to hold the Pocket 3 out like this far just to get the same image as the X3. I'm still not getting it. So you're like straight arming this thing, but let's wrap around and get back in the sunlight here. There we go. There we go. So still 24 frames per second. I do think the wireless mic is a huge plus. Like at the end of the day, if I set these cameras down and walk away to film or do something, like I'll be in both frames, but the audio for the Pocket 3 is going to be so much better with the wireless mic setup. 24 frames per second, I think that's, you know, that's a good thing to have, good comparison. 4K 24. We're going into the shade really quickly. Whoa, let's see what happens. Okay, not bad, not bad. I feel like the X3 is struggling still, but the Pocket 3 adjusts very quickly to that difference, and maybe the quality on the Pocket 3 is going to be significantly better. I do feel myself having to manually adjust the Pocket 3, like I'll twist my wrist one way or the other more just to try and make sure that I'm getting the camera to turn and keep me centered. Obviously if I throw the tracking on, that takes all of that responsibility away from me, and now I'm just going, so I don't even have to think about it, which is nice. But at the same time, I know that if I'm not moving my hand with the X3, then I'm staying in the center. Like as long as I don't twist my hand, I'm good. Whereas with the Pocket 3, if you're not paying attention, that gimbal can shift on you. And even right now, it's shifting around. So that's an interesting thing to consider, I suppose. I don't know how much that matters, if people like the moving, floating footage. And then if I turn the gimbal thing off, now I'm just walking in the frame. So not bad. I do have the tilt lock on, so it's not going to go up and down much, and it will kind of follow side to side. So that's nice. Cars going by, no worries there. So, gotta love that. And let's sit down here for a second. Try this again. I mean, the image on the Pocket 3 looks significantly better from what I'm seeing, but that's also the screen. Like the screen is really good on the Pocket 3. Maybe the X3 screen isn't as good, but the cameras, we'll find out. We're about to switch over to 360 mode. So I'm now filming in 2.7K at 60 frames per second, and the X3 looks terrible compared to the Pocket 3. The reason that I'm doing this is because this is the this is where you can free frame. The FOV plus for the X3 means that I can like make this horizontal or vertical later, and then obviously for the Pocket 3 I don't have that option, but we can at least see the quality comparison. But 2.7K is what I'm filming at, and I'm a little bit sketched out by what I'm seeing because it looks way diminished. I'm hoping that's not the case for the actual final video, but like yikes. So we're gonna go this way really quickly. Man, the Pocket 3 really struggles to keep you in frame though. It's kind of annoying, and like I don't know, I don't love that. I feel like I'm constantly losing myself with the Pocket 3 when I'm talking. So maybe if I put the tracking on, that'll make a difference. We'll see. But again, once the tracking is on for the Pocket 3, it starts to feel much more shaky, because the whole idea of the tracking is the gimbal is sitting still and you're moving around and it's following you. When you're moving and the gimbal is moving with you, it just starts to be a lot of motion, in my opinion, over the course of the video. So we'll see. Yikes. Man, the X3 looks like a degenerate old man in this one. Gosh, I look much younger in the Pocket 3's video just because everything's sharper. So we'll see how that plays out. All right, I'm turning that off. I don't really like the way that's working out. So the field of view for the Pocket 3 with the vertical is just really small. Like I said, I know I could put the FOV on there or the wide angle lens on there, and it would give me a little more. I mean, it's not bad, but like when the camera's moving, that impacts it a lot. So this footage is going to be very telling. Not too concerned about what it looks like when you're running. I don't see myself ever running with the Pocket 3 for like filming purposes, just because you have to hold it too far away from you to really get it there. We'll see. So here's the thing. I've got both cameras filming right now, and the Pocket 3 is in square mode. The goal being that I could like reframe and use this later is my hope. That's what I'm thinking. And then the X3 is in 360 mode. Gorgeous. It's all inclusive, 360. Just incredible. It's so bright outside. I'm going to walk through a bunch of shade right here. You're going to see this happen as I come into it, and we'll see how the cameras handle it. Really curious about this whole reframing option for the Pocket 3, because this would be the only way I think I could actually use the camera or keep it or justify keeping it. But even then, I really don't like the idea of running with this camera, like the gimbal and everything, just because you have to turn it off to run. And like the X3, just, it's a solid object, you know? It's just a solid object. Plus you've obviously got like the X3. I can push this thing way out, like way out from where I am. So we're going to do that actually really quickly. Let's see what we got here. Boom, baby. I mean, that's just like a completely different animal. I've used this enough to know exactly what I'm going to get with that. There's no need to carry it on. Let's do this. Let's go for a little jog that way and just kind of see how the cameras handle the run, okay? So I'm out here running with the X3, the Pocket 3. Everything's going great. Hopefully they're both handling it well. I definitely feel like I'm having to work harder to keep myself in frame with the Pocket 3. That's the issue, is like the gimbal moves. So if you're not paying attention, the gimbal is gonna kind of shift you out of frame, whereas like with the X3, that just can't happen. You're just kind of in frame. So yeah, that's an interesting one. All right, I think we've got enough here to know the answer to any questions that I might have. So. So the question is, how did that do? I was full sprint on that, and now I'm doing it again. So, well, not full sprint, but I'm moving. I mean, I'm definitely moving right here. And,
It didn't even stop.
oh man, that's terrible. All right, turn around, Kai, come back.
Hi, Daddy.
What up? I hope you're having a good day. I got some stuff I'm testing out here for you guys. The main goal here is to figure out the difference between these two cameras. Now, I am in extremely bright sunlight, and they're both filming at 24 frames per second in 2.7K. So I thought, let's compare that footage from both of them. Now, the one on my right side is the DJI Osmo Pocket 3, and we've just hit cloud cover, so we'll see how both these cameras adjust. I'm gonna go ahead and double tap my face, and now we're gonna be active tracking with the Osmo. So, I mean, I'm just curious to see how these things, everything's in auto for basically both cameras. You've got a vivid color profile on the Insta360 Go 3. That's this one over here, and then you got this over here. So there's my two cameras. And then obviously if we bring them together. Now the thing is, if I start running, what happens? You know, how does the stabilization go? Obviously you've got the mechanical stabilization with the Pocket 3, and then you've got the physical stabilization with the Go 3. I've got the Go 3 set on standard right now, which is not its best stabilization. And I don't think the Pocket 3 has any sort of special stabilization. We'll find out in a second. Oh, just about lost that. All right, so both of these cameras are now basically tracking my face for exposure and stuff. I'm just walking. I changed the Go 3 over to the high setting for stabilization. They do have an extreme setting or a max setting. Overall, the images look great. The Osmo looks a little more like, I don't know, color neutral. The vivid on the Action or the Go 3 is a little different. The Pocket 3 versus the Go 3. Everything's, I guess, at a 3 right now. Now the audio is coming straight from the Pocket 3 and the Go 3. I don't have the wireless mic turned on that's over there. So that's interesting. As far as like the FOV, it's pretty similar, but if I start running, let's see what happens. Okay, that's kind of what we got going on there. You do have a digital zoom. If my arm is stable, I feel like the Go 3 and the Pocket 3 are pretty similar. I don't know. Guess we'll find out in the post edit. But overall, I don't know. It's interesting. I'm gonna go ahead and put on the wide field of view for the Pocket 3, just so we can see kind of what we got going on here, and then we'll go from there. So currently both cameras are recording, and I'm using the wireless mic now for the Action or the Pocket 3. The Go 3 is just the normal sound that I've always used. So the wind thing is on. It is very windy out here. I'm very curious to see how this thing is picking up my voice. If I go quiet, I'm showing the volume levels at like medium when I'm quiet. I've also got the float, the 32-bit float turned on, and the cut on. So hopefully this audio comes out really nice for the Go 3 or the Pocket 3. Gosh, Pocket 3, Go 3, it's kind of a mess there, isn't it? Let's go ahead and give it a little jog really quick. I do have the wider field of view turned on right now, so there's that. We'll kind of just run with it. As if I was normally running, this is how I would be running. So there we go. Overall, not bad. I am going to go ahead and switch over the Go 3 to the what's the word I'm looking for? The free frame mode, which gives you a little bit of stuff in post plus better, stabilization. I don't know why I'm tripping on this, so we'll see how this goes. So it's pretty cool how you can press the record button on the Pocket 3 and like the mic on it automatically starts recording audio. And the Go 3, I've got it on free frame mode right now, so I'm going to adjust some stuff in post, but overall, the stabilization I know on the Go 3 is just insane, and I'm not even really worried about the angle on this one because a little bit of that can happen in post. I'm gonna actually pump that up just a smidgen. All right, so the Pocket 3 is now in 4K 60, which is kind of insane. So if I was to run with this, I've got the wide thing on, that's kind of what we're getting here. I'm gonna be very curious to see how both of these turn out in post. I mean, I'm shaking a lot. I'm doing my best to hold the Pocket 3 stable, but I'm still running. So, and then obviously the Go 3 is where it's at. So we'll see how that goes. These are just tests for me, honestly. Hopefully it all works out. So I just switched the field of view back to, for the Pocket 3, I took off the extra lens, so we're just on what it comes with as a standard field of view, and I'm holding it at arm's length, so that's what you're getting. The Go 3, on the other hand, at arm's length, I do have this little thing on here, so, you know, that's what I would probably honestly put with the Pocket. No, I don't know. I think I would keep the Pocket 3 pretty standard here. So, yeah, I'd probably just stick with the simplicity of the Pocket 3's setup. Maybe because you can tilt this. How much can you tilt this? Oh, That's interesting. So I guess you could kind of like film at the angle, which is interesting. Overall, I mean, we'll see how this running thing works when I'm at this angle. Let's go ahead and take that up a notch. And then what if I'm tracking my face here? Active track enabled. So we are just bopping along. I don't know if active track is really what you want when you're out here doing this. I feel like the gimbal's gonna try and move a ton to keep up with my face. So if active track is off, I actually think the gimbal will do better. Yeah, I think it does. So that's interesting. Whoa, okay, that's okay. Let's recenter the gimbal. Nope, I want face track off. There we go, that's off now. Perfect, I think. Yeah, it's off. I'm really curious to hear this audio at the end of this, so we'll see how that goes. But here we go. Just running, checking everything out, making sure we got everything that we want. And I think that's enough test footage for now. Let's go see what we have going on here, okay? My arm's kind of tired from carrying both of these cameras. Wow, the field of view at this same point is pretty different. Like the Go 3 is giving me a massive extra field of view, but I think the Pocket 3 is a significantly higher quality image. So there's the transition from light to dark. If I double tap, so we got my face focused, how is it going to do with that? Rotating back and forth. That is our light to dark rotation. And then once again, shadows. Wow, the Go 3 does the Pocket 3 does a significantly better job handling those transitions and going into darkness. So let's go into a dark hallway. How's the Pocket 3 gonna do? I'm still pretty heavily backlit. I mean, I'm basically lost with the Go 3. It's doing its best. And then, wow, yeah. I wouldn't even say there's a comparison here. That's kind of crazy. So, dang. All right, here we go. So I just wanted to show you guys this really quickly, just so we could all see what I'm seeing here. There's a first-person view of the Pocket 3, and obviously I've got the Go 3 on my head, so that's showing all of it. But what's interesting to me is this, right? So this is good, this is pretty good. This is where I think the issue is with the Pocket 3, and we'll see. I mean, obviously you're not going to be moving it up and down a ton, but I don't know just how it's going to handle on that kind of stuff. You know, if you're just walking around, running, trying to film like that, and then coming back into an angle like this. So we'll see. There's the two of them together, side by side, basically. And that kind of gives you an idea. Wow, it's an interesting little take on the whole scenario, that's for sure. All right, let's see how this goes. All right, so we're just out here testing out the gimbal's ability. I'm literally running barefoot, trying to see how this thing does hanging on to me. So right now it's not tracking me at all. I'm just running around. I'm gonna double tap on my face, and we're gonna see what happens when it tries to keep up with me while I am running. So now it's tracking me. And if I'm out running like this, you know, what is it doing? Is it doing a good job keeping up with everything? If I spin it over here, how's it do? That kind of stuff is, I think, worth knowing. The thing is, you have to flip it to get this. Like the whole thing with the Go 3 is I get both automatically, but like, I don't know. I think I can kind of know when I'm going to do one or the other, and like realistically I would use the X3 for that stuff, but then it's like, why wouldn't I just use the X3 for this? And you start to, stuff just stops making as much sense. I don't know, man. It's kind of a tough little call. All right, let's, it's still tracking my face, and that's like full range, so if I was filming like this, it's a pretty good angle or whatever, and like I'm moving the camera a lot, so we'll kind of see how this footage comes out if I was just out there, you know, doing whatever I'm doing. It's obviously shaded right now, which is good for this test. I suppose this is like really good lighting. But we're doing like probably like a 540 mile pace right now. Just kind of feeling out how this thing does with that. I feel like it's doing a pretty good job if I was having to film and run at the same time. So that's pretty good. All right, let's flip back to horizontal and see how that does. So that was all at 3.7K. And right now I do not have it's not tracking my face, right? So if I turn, it goes that way, whatever. We're just gonna do a little run here just to kind of give you an idea. Now I'm pretty good running stable, like just in general. I've been doing this for a while, so I mean, I've got some practice. However, if I wanted to track my face while I was doing this, let's see. Oh, it lost me 1 second. There we go. So now it's on my face, and I'm gonna go ahead and just run a little bit here and we'll see how it does. But if I was out running and we're talking to the camera and everything's going good, we got this nice little angle going on. Wonder if I could clip this and go vertical with it. Is it like wide enough to do that? Or would you prefer to have the other option? That's really the question you're trying to figure out. Plus obviously the mic, like how good is that? I could have the mic next to me, but sweat and all that, we'll see. So I definitely think I could get a better audio if I had the mic on me. So we'll see how that goes. But just did that run, and now let's go test the footage.